Hi, I'm Ollie from Source Investments, and today I'm going to be talking about a new investment opportunity in the UAE by a developer called Sobha, who are one of the largest and fastest growing real estate developers in the UAE. Now, just before getting into site specifics, I think it's worth quickly addressing a couple of points that people often say when they're looking at or considering investing in the UAE, because the opportunity that I'm going to talk about today addresses both of those concerns. So the question or statements are often, I like the idea of investing there, but I feel like I've perhaps missed the boat. Or sometimes actually the complete opposite, which is you've got investors who want to invest their money there, but they have very high expectations of what they're hoping to achieve from a returns perspective. Now, often when newer investors refer to the UAE, I think a lot of people automatically think Dubai or sometimes Abu Dhabi. And I think that's the first point to make, that there are 7 Emirates. So you've got Abu Dhabi, which is actually the capital of the UAE. You've then got Dubai, you've got Sharjah, Ajman, Al Quwain, Ras Al Khaimah, the northernmost emirate, and then you've got Fujairah. Now, in terms of missing the boat or unrealistic expectations, again, I think these are most commonly associated with Dubai. And in some respects, I would say that they're correct, or at least that the first part of that statement is, which is if you're thinking about trying to capture the same level of growth that early investors in Dubai have achieved, well, that's just not going to happen. And that doesn't mean that there isn't still opportunity in Dubai, there absolutely is. But what many investors don't do, at least not at first, is look at what's going on in the other Emirates. And that is exactly what this video is about today. So we're going to be looking at Sobha's latest launch, which is in Downtown Al Quwain, which is another emirate 40 minutes north of Dubai by car. Now, there is a significant amount of investor interest shifting to the Northern Emirates at the moment. And it's not a brand new thing, it's been happening for years, but it's starting to catch on in a much bigger way with investors at the moment. So naturally, if you're not looking at Dubai, people are starting to look at other areas now. And a fairly common debate, I would say, is whether you're looking at South Dubai or whether you are starting to look north and perhaps at the other Northern Emirates. And I think the first point in this is that the trajectory has always been north. Deira, Sharjah, Ajman, the natural progression of capital has been north up that way. And as a general rule, it is a good idea, I would say, to follow momentum of where capital is flowing. And in our view, we are more excited by the opportunities and the money that is flowing north versus going south right now. I think the big thing in the south that a lot of developers and agents are talking about is the new airport, so Al Maktoum Airport, which is going to be the largest airport in the world. And that will present some good opportunities with that. But I think that the question that I sort of ask myself, or that we're asking ourselves at Source Investments, is what's so attractive about the airport as an investor? Particularly if we're going to be comparing that to sea-fronted or beach-fronted locations that we know have performed very, very well over the years. So looking at the airport, it's inland. There's not a lot there right now. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to come in. And it's still about 40 minutes from Dubai, which is exactly the same as what Al Quwain is, which again, I'll be coming on to in a second. So it's just hard to see why going to Dubai South and the play around the airport is more exciting versus opportunities in the north at a similar or actually even cheaper price point, whilst having the opportunities we're going to discuss in terms of being sea and beach fronted. So I think the first thing to do is actually just look at a map of Dubai, because I think that is particularly useful. So just looking at the map here, you can see Abu Dhabi all the way down here. Then between Abu Dhabi, you go right up to Dubai. I'll zoom in a little bit on Dubai here. So up here, this is downtown Dubai. If you zoom in, this is where the Burj Khalifa is. You've got Business Bay, DIFC, so sort of the business districts. But then, you've got Dubai Mall. And if you go south, Jumeirah Beach, Kite Beach, Burj Al Arab, Palm Jumeirah, all very well-known, famous beachfront locations. As you start to come inland, you've got some premium developments like Emirates Hills. You've of course got the golf courses. Down south, this is Dubai South. This is where Al Maktoum Airport is currently being built. And then you've got lots of developments that are popping up around that. But as I say, that's about a 40-minute drive to get from here up to sort of downtown Dubai. And then if we look north, so you can see here the other Emirates that I mentioned. Sorry, just here you've got DXB, so Dubai International Airport. And then just north of that, you've got Sharjah, Ajman, then you've got Al Quwain, which is exactly what we are going to be chatting about today. You've got Senior Island, that's actually another Sobha project that would be for another video, that's a whole nother topic to explore. And then up in the north, you've got Ras Al Khaimah. So the northernmost emirate, again, there's lots going on there. In particular, there's a lot going on in Al Marjan Island, which is down here, which is where the Wynn Casino is going in. And again, that's a whole nother topic to perhaps explore in another video or on another day. So now just coming back to Downtown Al Quwain and the project that we're chatting about, which is Sobha's new coastal development, Downtown Al Quwain, which is part of a 25 million square foot master plan to reshape the area. And I think a really big point to note on this is that it is a 50-50 joint venture between Sobha and the Al Quwain government, which when you're getting into a project right at the start is a great thing to know, because I think that plays a huge piece in de-risking the investment opportunity for investors. Because when you consider that, you know, the government of Al Quwain is not going to let such a major development not be seen all the way through. So I think that gives investors a lot of comfort. Now, the first release of Downtown Al Quwain is called Aquamont, which consists of 3 blocks. There's a mixture of 1, 2, and 3 beds. 1 bed start from about 1.1 million dirhams, which is about £225,000. 2 beds from 1.4 million dirhams, which is about £286,000. And then you've got some 3 beds from about 3.2 million dirhams, which are like duplex units. And I will definitely come back onto pricing because that is a major piece of this investment and where we see the opportunity. But just to continue talking about the development itself a little bit. So the development is built along 11 kilometers of continuous coastline. It will have 7 kilometers of natural beaches and parks. 50% of the master plan is made up of green and open spaces. And I think this is a really, really big piece of the investment as well. And it sort of shows how forward-thinking Sobha are, learning from developments that they've done in Dubai and that other developers have done in Dubai. It's very, very apparent that having big open green spaces in a city that's been built up so much has been paramount in attracting investors and ultimately residents into an area. So already from the start, when Sobha are looking at this huge development, you know, we're talking about the first 3 blocks here, but there isn't an exact number on it. This could be 35, 40 residential tower blocks. Having green open spaces is a really important piece of the puzzle in terms of attracting investors, but actually creating communities. So the fact that they've already thought about that is a massive green tick. And then throughout the rest of the development, so after having, you know, the beaches, parks, the green spaces, there's of course going to be residential communities, commercial centres, office spaces, 5-star hotels and resorts. And then also fairly central to this is that there is going to be a trade centre going in, which is one of the central features of the project, because the trade centre is a designated 15 million square foot free zone, which is great for attracting businesses and working professionals, because they're going to be a large proportion of the people likely living in the surrounding areas. So just to quickly touch on the concept of a free zone. For reference, Dubai has more than 30 free zones, like the DIFC, so the financial centre, for example, which makes it very attractive for businesses to move and operate there because there's various tax advantages, whether that's on corporation tax or income tax. You know, if you're trading products in and out of an area, there's no import or export charges. You can also have 100% foreign ownership of businesses rather than needing a sponsor. And then ultimately, it operates under an independent legal framework, which allows the setup of businesses to be streamlined and extremely business friendly. As I say, we've already seen this throughout Dubai, where companies from all over the world have been attracted to these areas in Dubai that offer all of these sorts of incentives. And you're seeing it with large multinational corporations shifting head offices there, big financial institutions, hedge funds. It's kind of already proof of concept of how attractive that is for businesses. So the fact that that will obviously play a fairly central role in Downtown Umm Al Quwain, again, is great in terms of sort of de-risking the opportunity for investors. So now back onto pricing. As I say, that really is the main play here. I think getting in at the price points already mentioned for beach-fronted property is huge. And I think just to really sort of highlight that point, I show you on a map. So this is Downtown Umm Al Quwain. And then where I've dropped the pin here is where the development is ultimately going to be all down this coastline. If you take yourself and you drop onto the map, facing the other way, you can just see here how amazing this is going to be. The beach right there on the doorstep of residential communities lining the shoreline. Obviously, to get anything like this in Dubai is just going to be a completely different price point. And I think to provide some perspective, if we're looking at like a pound per square foot cost basis, well, for Downtown Umm Al Quwain, we're at around 2,000 dirhams a foot here in Aquamont in this first release. In Dubai, you pay a huge premium now if you want to be looking at beachfronted property in good premium areas. And your starting price for something like that is probably around 9,000 dirhams a foot. If you're looking at Palm Jumeirah, you're going to be north of that. You're going to be around perhaps 14,000 dirhams per square foot. Abu Dhabi, 8 to 12,000 dirhams per square foot. And then if we're going to look more at the Northern Emirates and what's already happened there, so Deira, Ajman, Al Marjan, these are all around about 4,000 dirhams per square foot at the moment. If we're looking at Senior Island, so again, another project that we really like by Sobha, that's now up around about 2.8 thousand dirhams per square foot. It started at about the same level as Aquamont that we're looking at today. So started around the 2.1k a foot, already up to 2.8k a foot, 7 or 8 months later since that got released, and they've done over 11 billion dirhams of sales there, which is just crazy. So I think when we're looking at Aquamont and our entry point there for beachfronted property, as shown on Google Maps here, dropping that pin, when you think about that, the price point that we're getting into an area where beachfronted property is always finite, it doesn't go on forever. Eventually, developers start building along the shoreline and then you start moving inland. So the fact that we're there at 2k a foot is just huge, because I think you can see the runway for where prices could go over the long term. So that is everything for today's video about this specific project. Obviously, there's a lot more that we could talk about in terms of getting into availability, floor plans, exactly what those units look like. But the reality is the availability is changing on a daily basis. So I think for anyone that's interested to find out a little bit more what those options look like, then please do get in touch with myself or the team at Source Investments using the link below, and one of us will be in touch to help. Thanks very much.